This race called life. Once upon a time, there was a young man named David. David was an aspiring athlete, and he had always dreamed of running a marathon. He trained hard every day, pushing his body to its limits, determined to achieve his goal. As the day of the marathon approached, David felt nervous but excited. He had trained for months, and he was ready to run the race of his life. As he stood at the starting line with hundreds of other runners, he felt a surge of energy and adrenaline. The starting gun fired, and David began to run. The first few miles went by quickly, and David felt strong and confident. But as he approached the halfway point, he began to feel a sharp pain in his side. David tried to push through the pain, but it only got worse. He slowed down, then stopped altogether, doubled over in agony. He felt like he couldn't go on, like he had failed. But then he remembered something his coach had told him: this race called life isn't just about winning. It's about how you run it. It's about the obstacles you face, and the way you overcome them. David took a deep breath and stood up straight. He looked around him and saw that he wasn't alone. There were other runners who had stopped, who were struggling just like he was. Some were injured, some were exhausted, some had lost their way. David realized that this was his chance to help. He walked over to a runner who had collapsed on the ground, and he lifted her up. Together, they began to walk, then jog, then run. They encouraged each other, pushing each other to keep going. As they ran, David saw other runners who needed help. He stopped to offer them water, to give them a hand up, to offer words of encouragement. And soon, he was no longer running alone. He was part of a group of runners, all helping each other, all running together. David realized that this was what the race called life was really about. It wasn't about winning or losing, it was about supporting each other, about facing challenges together, about being part of a community. And so, with the pain in his side forgotten, David kept running. He crossed the finish line, not as a solo runner, but as part of a group. He had completed the race, not just for himself, but for everyone around him. David learned that the race called life wasn't just about achieving his own goals. It was about being part of something bigger than himself, about helping others, about making a difference in the world. And as he looked back on the marathon, David realized that it wasn't just a race. It was a journey, full of obstacles and challenges, but also full of triumphs and joys. And he was grateful to have run it, not just for himself, but for everyone else running alongside him. The end.